Okay, great. Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Richard Kidd. I'm not sure if I got an introduction or not. If I didn't, it was probably the best one I've ever had. So I appreciate the chance to be here this morning. First of all, I want to thank all of you for either your service, your support for veterans, or your recognition that energy is in fact a national security issue. So I want to just deliver a few short remarks to kind of give you a flavor for where we are in the Department of Defense around issues at the macro level around energy resilience and energy security. So first of all, if you've heard our secretary, our deputy secretary speak, climate change is the context, right? Climate change will be affecting the department in all that we do going forward. And in fact, we're already experiencing the effects of climate change right now. We have it in three dimensions. Operational demands on the force. All right, the force is doing things now differently because of climate change, whether it's our operations overseas or domestic support for civil authorities. General Hokanson of the National Guard says the Guard no longer prepares for a fire season, but a fire year. All right, that's guardsmen that are fighting fires and not doing their job in terms of training for their contingency mission. All right. Second, it's affecting our installations and our infrastructure, degrading our ability to conduct training, and degrading our infrastructure through flash floods or drought. We have a very good tool, the Defense Climate Assessment Tool, the DCAT, that helps us with that. I encourage you to take a look at that. And then finally, in terms of our effects on our personnel and equipment, a few weeks ago in Europe, the runways were so hot the aircraft couldn't land. We train a large number of our Marines and soldiers in South Carolina and Georgia. All right, if you look towards the future, our Cat 5 heat index days will go above 50 and close to 70 days per year. Those are days you really can't train Marines and soldiers to do what they need to do outside. So real effects on equipment and personnel. So climate change is the context. But let's take the National Defense Strategy. So the one that's published and the one that's going to be published have two consistent themes in them. So the previous administration's National Defense Strategy had two resounding themes that are relevant. First is the homeland is no longer a sanctuary. We know that our adversaries have the ability to reach out and touch us at home through disinformation, through kinetics, but also in cyberspace, and that one of their key targets is our energy grid. The utility industry is arguably the most cyber attacked industry in America. Every day, our utilities do a terrific job of keeping the grid up and running, all right? But the threat to that grid will only increase in the event of a conflict or high level tensions with adversaries that have the ability to go in and affect that grid. The department recognizes this, and we've undergone some significant changes in our energy resilience conservation improvement. So ERSIP is a military construction account. 2 years ago it was $130 million. This year it's $600 million. Next year it's going to be $750 million. That vast majority of that money will be spent to build energy secure microgrids along a prioritized list of installations, the primary mission chain of the buildings and facilities in those installations that are required for that installation to do whatever it needs to do, whether it's launch bombers, launch paratroopers, have satellite communications, produce key munitions, all right? So this will be arguably the largest and most focused microgrid effort in the country. Both Bloomberg New Energy Finance and Navigant have predicted the Department of Defense will be about 1/3 of the microgrid and large-scale battery storage market in America for the next 7 to 10 years. And we are working hard to prove them right, all right? So that will be the foundation of the department's efforts. And for those of you who have worked on microgrid activities, in the past, some of our microgrid activities have been $3 to $5 to $6 million in scale. The ones that we're doing now are $35 to $60 million in scale. And some installations, we're going to make that investment, that level of investment 2 or 3 times in a row, so a couple of years running. So it's orders of magnitude larger than anything that we have done in the past. So this is our recognition that the homeland is no longer a sanctuary and that we need to build energy resilience across our installations. For those of you who may be interested in performance contracting or building design or whatever the case may be, that's still a very viable tool. ERSIP doesn't replace it. In fact, it makes those other tools, performance contracting, power purchase agreements, more valuable, all right? Because we, the department, are absorbing the cost of that connective tissue and making the other activities additive without embedding that cost into the third-party finance. So the other thing that the current national defense strategy got right was actually calling out China as a competitor, all right, as a strategic competitor. So Secretary Madison and company did a great job on that. It's going to be in the next one whenever it's finally released. This recognition that China is a competitor in all things, but particularly China is a competitor around energy and energy technology. So, I know this is the Atlantic Council, and I hate to call out one of their, one of their colleagues in the think tank world, but just 2 days ago, the Wilson Center had a symposium, and some of us in the Pentagon, there's Pentagon staff that go to all the think tanks, and we get executive summaries of the proceedings. So just a couple of days ago, the Wilson Center said that China is very clear. Clean energy technology offers a geostrategic advantage, and they are all in, all right? So if you look 20 years ago, China had practically no clean technology, all right? They have, through a variety of means, state subsidies primarily, and a very strong demand signal. They're the largest producer of wind turbines. They're the largest producer of batteries. They're the largest producer of solar panels, all right? They are moving aggressively into power management and energy control systems, whether it's Huawei on telecoms or other sort of SCADA devices that are on the energy products that we need for the clean energy transition. China is very clear. They recognize, and I've repeated this in a number of my presentations, the country that wins the race to the clean energy future wins, all right? And they are competing, and they are competing hard. And that's why the bill that recently passed series, the bill on inflation reduction is so important. You take that and you combine it with earlier actions where we're using authorities around Defense Production Act to start to shore up American supply chains, and you can take some satisfaction that the United States as a country is now competing, all right? For too long, we had this sort of false political debate that, we don't pick winners and losers. Well, we've sort of, for a long time, we've subsidized the loser technologies while China has picked the winners and has strongly invested in that clean energy future. And it's time that America gets caught up. So the work that you're doing in the topics that you're going to study, sorry, my timer froze out on me. I want to just make sure I stay within my 10 minutes. The work that you're doing and the things that you are going to study here today, in the next few days, your discussions are critically important for the United States, helping to protect our homeland and helping us in the geostrategic competition with China. So a long time ago, I was a teaching assistant for college professor Paul Kennedy, who wrote the book Rise and Fall of Great Powers. If you haven't read it, I'd encourage you to take a look. But basically, great powers rise and fall on energy, amongst other things, all right? And whenever there's been an energy transition, whether it's being able to harness sail plus compass, plus the ability to do charts and navigate, that grew the great, England and Denmark and the Dutch as sort of the early great powers. And then harnessing coal, oil, nuclear power. So to remain a great power, we clearly have to move rapidly and aggressively towards the new energy frontier, clean energy technology, and oh, by the way, when we do that, circle back around, it will help us to mitigate greenhouse gases that are contributing to climate change, which is, the context, the existential threat that we as a nation and the Department of Defense as a military faces. So I encourage you in your work. I encourage you as veterans. I encourage you as supporters of veterans. And I'd just like to say that there is a direct connection between what you do and our nation's national security. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.